Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America, we bring the resource to you. The DU Podcast with your host, Chris Jennings.
Today we've got Jim Ronquest, the producer of RNTV, 2006 World Duck Calling Champion, probably one of the most iconic, communicators in the entire outdoor industry. Everyone recognizes Jimbo. So how are you, man? Appreciate you joining us, and welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast.
Hey, Brother Chris, thank you, man. It's all good, man. Just happy to be here. Appreciate y'all asking.
How's the new shop?
Man, R&T right now, we are we've had one of our big shipping times for retailers, and now we're kind of building back up, and then October hits, or November hits, and it's another big bunch of shipping. So there's a bunch of calls getting tuned, a bunch of stuff going out the door on the inside, the business side of things. The outside, John, his degree being landscape architecture, after getting a new shop built, we've reworked the pond. We've done a bunch of work in front of the shop and trying to make it look presentable around there. Just finished that up this week.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it's going to look nice. Right now it looks like a pile of dirt. Once everything gets green, it's going to be really nice. And then the Flying Duck tap room, people are starting to enjoy it a little bit more. We have a craft beer license. We work with a couple different small craft beer people from Little Rock, Flyway Brewery, Lost 40. We've got our own beer.
Yeah, it's awesome.
R&T Flying Duck. That's good. It is good. And I tell you a little funny story here. Being kind of almost your basic savage redneck, I was a little concerned that I would like some of this small craft beer. But, man, there's several of them I like pretty good.
That's great. Yeah, when I was over there for the grand opening that night, I think I sampled most of them, and man, the shop looks great. The little Flying Duck tap room is cool, and I know I look forward to stopping by and having a beer this duck season for sure.
Yeah, I think it will wind up being a meeting place, after the hunt. Guys have been hunting and whatnot, they'll come back by after lunch, come have a beer too, just sit and talk about the day.
Yeah, that'll be great. Hey, just a kind of to change directions here, duck season's coming up, following last season, which was a difficult one for everyone. What are your expectations here going into the season, and do you even have expectations? I mean, you travel around with the TV show, and I know you get to get out quite a bit. How do you kind of temper those expectations as far as you're concerned, your personal hunting?
Man, that's a good question. One thing about duck hunters, I think duck hunters are all pretty excitable folks, for the most part. We all look forward to things, and I always have high expectations every year, but I kind of keep it real because I do travel, fortunate enough to travel a lot. I can get to go a lot of places. But I think most duck hunters always have high expectations for the year, just because it's what we do. It's what we look forward to. I always anticipate every season to be great.
Absolutely.
If it's not great, well, so be it. I still get to go. But the anticipation of the coming season is what drives us the rest of the year. So we always look forward to it and anticipate things. Granted, I do try to pay attention. On long-term average, Mallard LTA is still above average, but recruitment's been kind of off past couple of years. Canadian Prairie's been dry, but the Dakotas and even in the northern Nebraska is kind of trying to pick up the pieces there. So there's going to be some ducks. There's going to be some ducks fly south. There's going to be some people have some great days, and we're going to have some bad days. But you know what? We get to go duck hunting.
That's right.
We get to go enjoy our passions and apply our trade during the course of another duck season, and it's going to be another liberal 60-day duck season for the Mississippi Flyway.
Yeah.
So in the big picture of things, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Absolutely. I'm getting fired up. You just talking about it. That's one thing we all do. Like you said, you get, the anticipation for it, and then you get that first cold front, probably around Stuttgart, you're probably not getting that real good first cold front until, middle to late October even, but it's still, just the anticipation of that is is always, at the top of my list of, favorite things and things that get me excited. One thing that we've talked about in the past, and I've had this conversation with you several times, but, the kind of the ethics in duck hunting and people, arguing and doing this. And you've always had a really good statement on this about, people just going out there, having fun. It's not about what's hanging on your strap. It's more about, enjoying the time outdoors with your friends and family and, enjoying the moment. Can you kind of talk about that as well? And just kind of your position on where the kind of the ethics and the, the standards in duck hunting are right now?
That's a really good one.
I only ask good questions, Jim.
You did good. I'll probably take some heat from this, but I don't care. There's a whole lot of people duck hunting nowadays that, in my opinion, are duck hunting for the wrong reason. Granted, as duck hunters, we all get competitive. We all want the best spot. I understand that. At the same time, man, it's not a competition. It's the opportunity to enjoy God's creation every day with friends, family, make new friends, whatever. Go enjoy being there. There's so many guys, and you read about it all the time on social media, especially at home in Arkansas on public ground. And it's not just there, but you hear about, man, boat racing. And I ain't saying I hadn't been a part of that. I mean, I don't want to be a hypocrite here because I've been in the middle of that rat race. And I finally got the idea, if you're going to be in the rat race, you're going to be a rat. And nobody wants to be a rat.
Yeah.
Let's come together because if we don't stick together, they're going to pull us apart.
That's right.
And we have got to work. There's a lot of guys out there that I think if they could shoot a duck and it blow up in a fiery ball of smoke and hit the ground, they'd be just tickled to death. Sure, I like to smell burnt powder and I like a heavy duck strap and I like to see my dog go to work. I like to be successful, but there's more to it than just pulling the trigger. And we just got to figure out how to get that to a lot of guys to help them maybe look at it different. See it as a sport and not necessarily
Absolutely. And you hear stories about guys, racing to holes on public land. They get there and people are arguing in the duck holes and whatnot. And, one thing I've always, thought is, well, why not just say, hey, man, just tuck in behind that tree and hunt with us? That's and you hear about that sometimes, but, you don't hear about it a lot. And I think that's something that if people were a little more willing to do and instead of making it a competition, I've hunted with guys, I hunted with guys in the White River a few years back that I didn't know any of these guys, but we were kind of in the same area, and it's just like, hey, man, let's just team up here, and it worked out. And these guys are from Georgia. I never knew them, but now I stay in contact with them pretty regularly and figure out how their hunting is and whatnot. So it can really open doors for a lot of people, and it's just a better approach, And I think you hit the nail on the head with that it doesn't have to be a competition and come together, or else someone's going to pull us apart. So I think that's a great topic. Now, one thing I wanted to do, and we kind of talked about this before, we started recording, but we had dinner a couple years ago at SHOT Show, and someone had asked you, what is your perfect day of duck hunting? And you kind of leaned back a little bit and went on this story, and I've told this story before to other people because I thought it was just it was perfect. If you want to share that again on the podcast today, what would be considered your perfect day of duck hunting?
Man, a perfect day of duck hunting for me at home, especially. It is typically on weekends or times when my wife is off work, and I'll come around to that. I love to get up in the morning, know where we're going. A good, cold, clear morning. Wind about 10, 15 mile an hour, southwest preferably, so you got that sun behind you in the morning. But go have a good, solid hunt, good dog work, get a couple good bunches in, break some high ducks, just really get to enjoy the morning. Have a great morning, have a good, brisk boat ride back to the truck, everybody high-fiving, make you get back towards the house. Now, this is where I like it when my wife's at home. My wife is known for making really good soups and chili. And all the guys like to come to my house after the hunt on weekends because Rosie's going to have a big pot of soup on the stove, and we all like that. But have a great hunt, get back home, clean your ducks, have a couple after the hunt, cold beers, and just relax, have a good time, eat a big old bowl of Miss Rosie's taco soup, vegetable beef barley soup, or venison chili, whatever it is, and get you a big old belly full of that, take a nap, wake up from that nap in time to go scout for the next morning and enjoy a pretty sunset, come home, have a cocktail, go to bed, and do it all over again tomorrow.
Man,
that's good living right there, boys.
Sign me up, man. Sign me up. That sounds fantastic. And that that is something. It kind of goes back to the earlier topic that we were talking about, where you didn't even really say, oh, we filled the boat with ducks. It's more about the elements, the camaraderie, just being out there, enjoying it, hanging out, eating Miss Rosie's taco soup, it's the full package of duck hunting. It makes it what it is, and which from my perspective makes it a little bit different than even, other kinds of hunting. And I think that's what attracts me to it, really.
It's all the parts and pieces. I love good dog work. I'm into retrievers. Of course, I like to call. You like to see ducks do their thing and finish the ducks right. I'm on spending time in God's creation with good friends. Man, don't get no better than that.
Be the first to know when ducks are on the move. Sign up for DU's waterfowl migration email alerts and receive ongoing in-depth updates on the latest habitat conditions, weather changes, and hunting reports for your flyway. Visit ducks.org/migration alerts.
You mentioned, you like calling, obviously world duck calling champion. You work for Rich and Tone Calls. Give some people some just quick advice on becoming a better duck caller. Just very, very kind of, basic stuff. People are working in the off season. We're getting ready to ramp it up. What do you tell people that just say, hey, I want to become a better caller?
Yeah, that's easy. Don't try too hard. Don't try to go too fast. Don't try to be too fancy. Work on the basics. Work on enunciation. And then once you get that, work on being able to blow a basic intended hen quack soft, medium, and loud. Learn to do a basic feed call, soft, medium, and loud. Learn a slow leg, soft, medium, and loud. And learn a fast leg, soft, medium, and loud. Learn how to apply it and read ducks, and you'll call all the ducks that want to be called.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Just simple advice. But, the last thing you mentioned is one thing that, I've personally, tried to continue to get better at over the years, especially as the habitats that I hunt have changed. I came from growing up in Indiana, and then moving down here, and now, I'm hunting a little more, timber and just some different habitats that I didn't grow up hunting, but being able to read the ducks and being able to call to what they're doing. Kind of speak to that and what you kind of have seen other people do and not do, and how you got better at doing that.
Biggest thing I've had to teach myself to do, and I still struggle with it, is knowing when to quit. But I hunted around some other hands growing up, my dad and his buddies, and then even as I got on the thing, hunting with hands, had more experience than I did, would pop you in the head or get your attention and tell you to be quiet. One of the things that I see happens a lot, especially in the woods, if you want to watch a duck rodeo, a duck circus rodeo, put you 4 or 5 accomplished duck callers in the woods that's never hunted together before, and just watch all these ducks get blowed out of the hole.
Yeah. And
then another group about a quarter mile down the way used to hunt together, shooting all the ducks that you started. Typically what will happen is everybody gets blowing, everybody's trying to outblow everybody else, and you'll break high ducks good, but you won't finish nothing because people get to pushing and pulling. So what will happen, and this is just watching ducks, reading the wing beat, reading the body angle and birds. You'll see a bunch, they'll get downwind, and you'll want to turn them back into the wind towards your hole, and you'll hit a lick, and they'll turn back. Well, your buddy, man, he wants to be a part of calling these ducks in, so he'll hit that same leg, and he just pushes them. So, and I've learned a lot of this editing video. God dang, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And people get to calling too much. So once you get them started, we all like to blow, like to watch them react, or, you know, hit the feet hard, and you see them pull them wings down or start dropping them feet. But they was coming anyway. Learn when not to blow, learn when to let them in, learn when to let them come around. Now, a hunt public ground, you know, you won't have to keep them on here. Somebody else is going to get them. But you got to find that line on how that works. And the whole key there is reading ducks. I could go on for hours about how to read ducks, but it's something you really got to do.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention to how they react on certain sounds, and watch that reaction. You know, a lot of times you'll be working a bunch and they circle and a circle and a circle. And of course, I know you know this, but once they start getting a little higher, you're probably not going to get them back. That don't mean you don't try to do something different to initiate a response. But once they start getting higher, they're about done. There have been occasions where you'll pull a single or a couple of birds back off that bunch, you'll find something that works. But the whole key is, if you blow something at them and you get a good response, do it again. If you don't get a good response, try something different. Now, along with that, add to it, I kind of am of the opinion that if we start a bunch, we ought to get them. But then that's where concealment and calling and reading ducks comes together.
Yeah.
You probably, nine times out of 10, going back watching video, you probably call too much, or it's a concealment issue. You know, you can normally tell that hunting with cameras all the time. My buddies get mad at me about the camera got that one, but you can, for a camera to get good footage, they got to be out front. They got to be seen. They got to be able to see the birds, so the birds can see them. And that big lens is nothing but a great big eyeball to a duck.
Oh yeah.
So, that creates an issue too. But man, learning to call ducks is just getting out there and spending time calling ducks and spending time practicing with your duck calls, learning the mechanics and operation of the call. Once you combine them two together, you'll be good. The duck call should be just an extension of your voice. One thing I like to tell folks in seminars is, you know, once you learn to operate a duck call, and forever we've had tapes and instructions say this is a hail call, this is a greeting call, this is a beat call, and other than some different clucks and beat calls and stuff, everything else is all based off the night or hen, deep or Sunday or lick. So a duck doesn't look up, cock her old head, look up there and say, "Oh, there's a high bunch of them out there. I need to blow a hail call." No, that's not what she does. She just hollers at them.
Yeah.
And that's the way we as hunters need to be. It needs to be more reactional than proaction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't think, you just do. You don't think about it, you just do it.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed, and after I hunted with you several years ago, and the first thing that I noticed is how aggressive you and the other guys that we were hunting with are on the feed call, and kind of explain the importance of that, especially when you're in the timber. You're really hitting that feed call hard, that chatter, and it almost echoes through the woods. It's a very, very cool experience, but it's something that really stuck out to me. Can you kind of describe that and why you're hitting the feed call so hard?
Yeah, especially public woods. Again, this is going to sound a counter to what I just said about calling too much, and I probably do it too much, to be honest with you. But my idea there is once we get a bunch of rope, we want to keep them paying attention to us. We want to keep kind of we'll call it a wall of sound, if you will. If we want to keep them ducks, once you break them, I want them looking at me and nobody else. That's just part of the game of calling ducks. So once we get them started, we want to keep them started. So we'll keep that hard. Just keep that going. The thing that makes a difference there is doing that with guys that you're used to hunting with, that all used to hunting together, know when to let off and let them come back around and just slowly kind of back it down. Because sometimes if it gets quiet too quick, well, that'll scare them as bad as anything else. Because in the real world, if ducks all of a sudden get quiet, there's typically a predator or something around. That's why they get quiet and ball up. So keeping that going to where you keep the duck's attention on you or your decoys, but yet not blow them out and not spook them by getting just shutting all the way up too quick is kind of the game there. Just that wall of sound and importance. You know, when ducks are really in the woods, they make a lot of racket. And we can argue all day long about ducks making feed sounds in deep water or not, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they make all kinds of sounds at different times. So we're just trying to emulate that and trying to super emulate that.
Yeah.
Goes back to a deal I read once that was done at Cornell University. These researchers up there, they had some kind of songbirds, and they were seeing how these songbirds reacted to their spring mating calls. So they had the control group, or the control audio they would play at a natural ambient audio level, and then they would record, write down how they reacted, and then they'd give them like a 15-minute break or 30-minute break, and take these same birds, and they would play back the recording of the singing, the songbirds, at like double the volume, and recorded how they reacted to it. And it was interesting that they reacted quicker and faster to the louder deal at first, and then they did whatever. But the super stimulation there is what you go for. It's why super magnum decoys work.
Yeah.
You know, they're super stimuli. They see it bigger, so it must be more of them.
Yeah.
You know, and they're ducks. They got a brain the size of a pea, but they're really good about avoiding getting shot at times. But that's part of the calling deal. And you know, you want to sound like ducks, but you're really louder than ducks. You want to be duck-like, and then you got to know when to be ducky and let off and get down to that natural volume level.
Yeah. I think everyone just learned a lot, and I know I did. That's fantastic. Jim, I appreciate you coming on. This has been a great conversation, and hopefully as we move forward with this podcast, we'll have you on again. And I look forward to stopping by and seeing you at the Flying Duck Tap Room here, have a beer with you here in a couple months.
Man, I look forward to it. Come on by. We'll talk again. I'll show you my trophy.
Yeah, that's right. All right, take care, Jim. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit www.ducks.org/DU Podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.